I don't know who it was on Twitter, but the Arnold Palmer fun facts is one of his balls is full of lemonade and the other one is full of iced tea.
As long as they're equal proportions.
Right.
Depending on what kind of drink you're looking for. Did you see where Arnold Palmer's daughter put out a statement ripping Trump and saying that her husband thought he was gauche and obnoxious and now would probably find him even more cringeworthy?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Nobody ever likes Donald Trump. I mean,
as I keep saying every day, when I think we've hit the stupidest part of the stupidest timeline on Earth, it gets worse. Mm-hmm. I mean, go ahead. 2 weeks to go, Cliff.
I mean, again, like I got into this analyzing politics, and hopefully, I like to make jokes and have a sense of humor. But at what point is talking about a dead golfer's dick?
Wow! Can't say that, honey. Can't say that.
You can just say D.
Oh
yeah, D.
I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okay.
In what universe do you think you can say that on an FCC-friendly show?
I didn't think that was, one of the 7 words that George Carlin talked about. Okay. I said that. Please, FCC, send any fine my way. And now I'm never going to be back on this show. No. So I might as well enjoy myself now. How is he up there obsessing over Arnold Palmer's private parts? Again, he's not sane. He's not there. Like, there's no connection to reality. There's just people out there who are like, apparently, who are just like, hey, that guy's a celebrity. I saw him on The Apprentice, so I think I'll still vote for him. And, we're here because so many institutions have failed, because Merrick Garland has failed, and because the New York Times is like writing ridiculous. I mean, even their story about Arnold Palmer was like, he started to go into interesting stories and I don't remember anecdotes about you may have seen the writer of that piece may get fired. It was pretty gutsy of him. He responded to the person who said that and said, I included what he said. The editors would not allow it. And so they've sane washed everything about this guy. So every low information voter out there, who maybe leans Republican or isn't sure, but they know Trump because he's a celebrity. They know he's a little bit gross because they see it here and there, but they just don't know mostly what he is. And it's because our media fails every single day in doing their job.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that one of the candidates is nearly 80 and completely barking mad, and we've never seen a medical record or a tax return. And as you say, Merrick Garland, I'm sorry, did not do his job. We don't know the extent of his criminality. I mean, you and I are pretty sure we know, but you're right. And we know 34 felonies. We know he's out on bail. We know he's a rapist. And apparently the polls are still tied. I guess if we're to believe the polls. Where are you?
I don't believe them. And I don't think it's still tied. And I think, there's a 7-point Dobbs effect we've seen on average since, with the low propensity Democratic voters, particularly women who did not vote in the past. So when they ask those questions in polls, have you voted in the last 2 elections, this and that, they're often not counted. And they come out and they vote now. Younger folks, too. We just, in my house, just registered a new 18-year-old. Pretty excited about that. He's going to be voting for the right person, not the one who talks about Arnold Palmer's junk. I can say that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, the media has artificially, because they've sane washed him, created a race where I still think in the end, because of the turnout differentials, you've probably heard some of the stuff in Arizona, Nevada, where they've got Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk, Mr. Potato Head, running things, and 25% of the supposed registrations have come back, have been fraudulent, because when you pay people, they're not invested in it. They just want to make the money. They're making stuff up. So again, for a number of reasons, I still think we win, and we win solidly, like by Obama 08 numbers kind of thing. We win North Carolina. I think we may even win Florida. But it shouldn't even be that. It should be, and to somebody who would know this from your dad, no offense to what happened to him, this should be LBJ Goldwater numbers. This should be, Nixon McGovern. This should be Reagan Mondale. I mean, this should be a 20-point race. It would be without
Fox News and, the right-wing radio and a complete dearth. We were just playing this, the founder of PolitiFact saying, I lied. Of course Republicans lie a lot more. But I couldn't say that because we had to seem, nonpartisan or whatever. The fact is, it's not bipartisan. They're the leader of their party is the most ridiculous liar we have ever seen, and he has turned them all into ridiculous liars. Look at Mike Johnson with Jake Tapper. I mean, he's just ridiculous, trying to twist themselves into pretzels.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I was just saying, it's even beyond ridiculous. He's a ridiculous person. Which Kamala was getting at in the debate in Haskins. He's not a serious person. He's not a real person. He's not he's a liar. He's a loser. He's a criminal. He's a rapist. He's a traitor. He's a Putin suckling. It's just on and on about this guy. He can't get up and give a speech without talking about sharks and batteries or Hannibal Lecter or toilets that don't flush enough or Arnold Palmer's junk. It's just, he's so patently unqualified. It's ridiculous.
And I'm unqualified to phone bank, frankly, because I was saying, first of all, I'm used to hanging up on people. People don't hang up on me. But secondly, Cliff, I agree with you. If you're voting for Trump now, I think you are despicable. I think you are absolutely, as you were just saying, I mean, all of those things, then you are just as selfish and racist and a traitor as he is if you're voting for him now. I mean,
And again, I'm not letting any of those folks off the hook. I'm not at all. But I will say that the combination, you brought up right-wing media, which is run, blocking for him the entire time, hid the worst parts of him or pretended that he's not as bad as he is or whatever. And then mainstream media, again, with the exception of a couple outlets, I like to shout them out because they've been terrific. The Cleveland Plain Dealer, the Philadelphia Inquirer, that actually tell the truth and have said we are going to. But the others, the New York Times has failed so massively, is such a piece of garbage. And the issue there is that the New York Times, in a lot of mid-sized markets like Cincinnati, they take their cues, our newspaper, from the New York Times as to what's important. So people think the New York Times being terrible just influences the people that read it. No, it carries across the entire country. And again, I'm telling you, there are so many low information voters or people that work 2 jobs and they have to raise kids and, and all of this, and they're commuting to and from work. All they're seeing are headlines and chyrons, maybe, and a little bit of coverage. And in that coverage, they're seeing people talk about Trump like he's normal. He just said something a little bit off.
It was depressing. I talked to a couple of them. One guy said, I'm voting for Trump. I said, do you know anything about Kamala Harris? I don't want to know anything. Hung up. Another woman just said, I don't vote. Hung up. You have to go, oh, please, God. I know statistically there are more of us. But it is terrifying. Yes. We have really got to pedal to the metal the next 2 weeks.
We really do.
I mean,
well, there are a lot more of us. We know that because Biden, Kamala's going to win by 8-10 million votes no matter what. So right away, it's a part of it's our stupid system.
Yeah.
But once you get past that, again, if every day, imagine if the media they decided, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, to cover him exactly as he speaks every single day in those papers when he gets up at these rallies and does stuff. People by now, and put that in the headlines the way they put Hillary's emails. I'm telling you, this would be a 15-point race at worst. It would just be over because people would know.
And because he's so ridiculous, he makes his entire party ridiculous, whether it's Mike Johnson trying to defend everything he said over the weekend. CNN's Scott Jennings, who is he, the right-wing guy?
Yes. He had the task from McConnell.
Of translating what he thought Trump meant earlier in the day when he suggested Abraham Lincoln could have settled the American Civil War. He said Lincoln was probably a great president, although I've always said that why wasn't that settled? Oh, I see. Like maybe black people could have been like 4/5 of a person. Yeah, they could have just...
Right. That would have been better. Or, for example, when he was elected and literally within, I don't know, was it moments, right? As soon as they got word, it could have been longer than that because, we didn't have that whole internet thing back then. But as soon as they got word and fired on Fort Sumter, I'm not sure what he was supposed to do at that point.
Right.
Their reaction to his being elected was to engage in war, was to fire. So at that point is when he should have said, no, really. Take those bombs back.
And just
take the bullets back.
This whole, he went on to say, as an example, Ukraine would never have happened. Russia, if I were president, Israel would never have happened. October 7th would never have happened. I mean, he just,
nothing bad
magical fairy dust would have, yeah. And by the way, and he just blames Zelensky for the Russia invading them like a couple of days ago.
He is right in one sense. I think Ukraine never would have happened because he would have shared all of the intelligence he had with Putin, and Putin maybe would have been able to take over Ukraine much quicker, and the people of Ukraine right now would essentially be in a slavery regime under Vladimir Putin. So in that sense, sure, there wouldn't be a war because Ukraine wouldn't have the chance they have when we've got an actual body like NATO trying to help them fight against a guy who's the equivalent of this generation's Hitler.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much that simple.
I love what Scott Jennings said. He's excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Oh. He said, well, trying to explain what he said. He said, well, he's running as an anti-war type candidate. He's really? So we shouldn't have had the Civil War. So we should still have slavery? Like he's so...
He's an anti-war candidate.
Pardon me?
I'm just checking him out. He's an anti-war candidate. I don't know anything about war candidate.
Yeah.
He's what his
he
would have
let
general
Putin use nukes in Ukraine. He would let Netanyahu flatten Gaza. I mean, it's
It's just, again, I know it's insane. Like there are intractable issues. There are things. The situation in the Middle East, the certain situation in the Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Africa, and others where there have been massacres or whatever. I mean, I've done work on the situation in Armenian invaded a separate ethnic enclave invaded by Azerbaijan the day after their leader met with Putin, by the way. Like, these are all things, where they're not easily solvable issues. And I'm not saying Democrats are perfect. But what I am saying is Donald Trump in every one of these issues would be like, what do I get out of this? Are you going to hand me some gold? Are you going to give me a Trump Tower Baku, which, by the way, he wanted to build in Azerbaijan back in the day. You get a deal going there. He loves dictators. And again, even these traditional Republicans who stick with this, like, was all that crap? You never really believed in NATO?
I know.
You thought Brezhnev was great, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, 20 minutes after the hour, more Cliff Schechter, this portion of the show.
We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And the people of Georgia are angry.
Oh, boy.
The people of the country are angry.
So much fun to watch.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
The Steeler way.
Now, do you think it's possible?
Me personally?
That they shredded ballots in Fulton County?
I'd probably be lying if I said no.
Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines.
It's a mystery.
That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. I know during the season isn't the time to think about it.
You sure, Ryan?
Ben.
You should want to have an accurate election.
I've been doing this for 14 years now. I've seen the highs, the lows in football, and just being able to understand that it's a fun game, but it's just a game.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have, not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes.
It'd be lying if we said that every part of this is fun. But you need to try and make it fun.
You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense.
I knew I just had a bad day. It's just one of those days. We all have them. We've all had a bad day at the office.
And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk.
I'm not into all the center of attention, but I'll enjoy watching him do it.
But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen.
They were trying to get me to, on Thursday, they were talking about some celebration they wanted to do and get me involved, and I said, no, guys, I'm not doing it. I
just want to find 11,000 780 votes.
Do it in a dirty kind of way.
What are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this.
Not quitting, not giving up, not being able to.
And it's going to be very costly in many ways.
Not very.
And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers.
People talk a lot about the brain, mental health, CT, all that stuff moving forward, and sometimes those symptoms don't show right now, because we don't know about what's going on in our heads. So that's, I think, more the scary part is what's the future hold for our heads.
For instance, I'm hearing Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know.
He's a kid that works really hard. Like, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. If he does, he corrects it, won't make the same mistake twice. And then you're going through a walkthrough, and everything's real serious, and you're walking through, and you're talking about something, and next thing you know, like, he's on the ground diving for a ball or rolling around, doing something like completely off the wall silly.
But he's making them with he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure, because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot.
Not sure if he really lost his bike, or did he just want to get a new bike?
Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow.
We carved pumpkins this week.
The people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote.
Take a knee.
And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, really respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday.
It's a mystery.
Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. You might remember me from Breitbart, holding my wood outside Home Depot, my 2016 op-ed, I will never vote for Donald Trump, and here's why, or my 2020 vote for Donald Trump. What do you want? If you can't beat them, renounce your values and grovel before them. I don't care. I bet I make more than you. I'm sure I make more than you. And today, for the next 3 hours in this video, I'm going to destroy Barbie. I'm going to destroy her. I'm going to own her. I'm going to own her and destroy her. Those two things. I'm going to show you on the doll where the doll movie triggered me. The basic premise of the whole mise en scène is that Barbie is some kind of liberator figure, and basically that sets up 2 hours of non-stop, incoherent, feminist, liberal, women's studies, globalistic, secular human propaganda vomit disguised as cinema. And it's woke, too. Look, I spend the entire week feeding the grievance complexes of white men. When my weekend comes, I want an escape. I don't want woke Barbie. This Barbie ignores men and looks down on them and mocks them. And I've known women like this. Most women I've known, socially and in professional settings, have exactly like this. Honestly, I have not been this angry since that couples counselor kept trying to convince me that the female orgasm was real. It's not. You guys know. It's a myth. Like climate change and racism. This movie uses the word patriarchy. A lot. A lot. I mean, use it once, fine. It goes over their heads, they don't know anything. But if you keep using that word, little girls are gonna know what it means. What's wrong with you? Most of the film is spent just smearing America's most vulnerable minority, wealthy white businessmen. Totally offensive. I was so outraged, I threw my booster seat at the screen. There's this transgender Barbie who exists in the film for seemingly no other reason than to tell children that transgenders are people that we should be nice to. Who's putting this in our kids' brains? Like, nobody ever gangs up on the trans Barbie, or calls it names, or says it's mentally ill, or misgenders it to make it cry, which, by the way, is completely legal, and you are allowed to do that anytime. They just accept it's trans like it's a person. Ha! Let's see if Islam lets you get away with that, Barbie. All the men in this movie are portrayed as these pathetic, frustrated vessels of impotent rage because they can't control women. Men are not trying to control women, and that's why we have to stop Greta Gerwig from ever being able to make a movie again. The way men are portrayed in this movie is unforgivable. Look, when my wife's date comes over on a Friday night to make love to her in our marital bed while I sit and watch in a dark corner from my chair, I don't want to see some woke Marxist giving her the pleasure I cannot. You might have seen in my last video, I bought some Barbies and set them on fire on my grill. How do you like that, Mattel? I burned your product, and all you've got is my money I paid you before I burn. In short, this film will make you so proud to be part of the gender that denies them control of their own bodies.
hired a director of diversity at the Oak Park Public Library, and that there was a mural of diversity, but there were no white men in it.
Oh, God.
So
God. How will we recover?
I know.
Oh, my gosh. So can I get myself in that picture now?
White men so downtrodden in the sun. I mean,
so sad.
I feel hurt. I feel excluded. As I do every time when I drive around the Midwest here, because obviously.
Exactly.
So, Cliff, I don't know how many more warnings we need from how many more people that know Trump. But so the guy that wrote Art of the Deal said Trump is a very animalistic human and feral. Tony Schwartz said, yeah, he's a feral guy. He's an animalistic human being. So, number one, he's clearly moving toward dementia. What are the symptoms? He can't put sentences together. He loses track of what he's saying. He contradicts himself. He said we've always known he is a man without conscience. He's shameless, meaning he will say anything to anyone. His fear is really high right now. If you combine the evidence of dementia with a psychopathic personality and his age and exhaustion is one of the consequences, this is one toxic brew that I think some voters will be influenced by. I mean, please God, tell me that people's eyes and ears are working at least, Cliff, at this point on undecided quote-unquote voters.
Well, some of them are, clearly. I mean, you know, my whole theory here has been, please just keep letting Donald Trump talk. I mean, we saw that Univision. We saw that, I mean, he may have put off half of, like, the Latino population in that Univision. I mean, the question that guy asked him is, coronavirus was handled terribly. Your vice president isn't supporting you. And January 6th was awful.
Yeah, and that guy's not voting for him.
Exactly.
And Trump was like, okay, we got to go.
More Cliff, next.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn in the past few hours.
Politicians under attack for opposing Venezuela's president. Dozens of his supporters breached the grounds of the National Assembly on Wednesday.
The peaceful transfer of power, the cornerstone of American democracy, seemed a highly abstract concept today, as Trump supporters clashed with police as they tried, and succeeded, to storm the Congress, where America's elected leaders had gathered to certify the election victory of Joe Biden.
Lawmakers and journalists tried to get to safety inside the building, but some of the attackers also got in before the door could be closed.
They were literally banging on the doors of Congress. And then some Trump supporters managed to get inside. They were armed and wandering the Capitol building,
unleashing chaos, and made their way inside the chamber, where they chased and beat lawmakers and journalists at the end of a special session marking the country's Independence Day. At least 5 opposition deputies were injured, some bleeding from the head, stumbling around the assembly corridors.
These pictures appear to show a woman protester being shot inside the Capitol building. A stretcher was sent in to given CPR.
One of them, Americo de Gracia, had to be taken on a stretcher to an ambulance suffering from convulsions.
Once again, paramilitary groups with ties to the government broke into the legislative palace. 4 lawmakers were injured with cut heads, broken bones. 2 employees of the Parliament television network suffered head injuries. Firearms were brought in by civilians under the complacent watch of security services.
A protester breached the inner sanctum of the chamber. The vice president had to be removed to safety by his Secret Service detail. And then the joint session was adjourned. Earlier, the Republican Senate leader, for so long a loyal lieutenant of the president, turned on him with this withering assessment.
This election were overturned by mere allegations from the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral.
President Nicolás Maduro, who was overseeing the traditional Independence military parade, condemned the violence and called for an investigation, but also planted doubts about who might be behind the attack.
I have been informed that during this important, brilliant, beautiful civil military event celebrating total independence, there have been some strange occurrences. They're always strange when the opposition is involved.
In a rally outside the White House, Donald Trump encouraged his loyal base to fight to overturn the result of this bitterly contested election.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Yes, the injuries hurt us, but not as much as the pain we feel each time we see our country falling apart when they kill our youth. We will continue forward, don't have the slightest doubt.
Of his supporters needing little encouragement to join the fight.
We're here to support, if violence happens, like it happens, but we're not going to start it. We're just here to defend ourselves.
With blood.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I support Trump. Freedom is paid for with blood, and tyranny always masquerades itself as safety and security, and that's what we're fighting against right now.
Election, including the notion that January 6th was a government-staged riot, also called January 6th, quote, a day of love, compared the January 6th defendants to Japanese Americans in internment camps during World War II, and at one round decided to, instead of speak, dance and sway on stage for 39 minutes.
By the way, one of the police officers, Sergeant, what's his name? Agolino Gonell. I talked to him at the DNC. He's very nice. He released a video after Trump called it a day of love. He said on X he had body cam footage from his experience. He posted it on Twitter and said, "Here's me receiving an outpouring amount of affection during the day of love. They almost loved me to death." Cliff, we've never been asked, I think, in a political cycle to just disbelieve our own eyes and ears. Like January 6th didn't happen.
Again, the worst, there's many worst parts of this, but, we used to, and maybe we overused it on the left, but we would talk about Orwell so often, right? Mm-hmm. All those quotes that just make so much sense, right? The government, what was it, told you to ignore the evidence of your eyes and your ears and, all that kind of stuff. We've always been at war with East Asia. I mean, so much of this stuff is so applicable to right now. I mean, again, they've created an alternate universe. 30 to 35% of our population inhabits that universe. And then, again, where I get mad at the media and other folks is because it's that other 10% to 12% that I do believe could be winnable if they would tell the truth all the time.
This used to be the party of family values, and their presidential candidate is talking about Arnold Palmer's, which, by the way, Rude Pundit said Arnold Palmer's is so long that he can slap Trump in the face with it all the way from his grave.
Oh.
Do we have a song about it? Yes, in fact, we do, Cliff. Thank you for asking. Yeah, because this is the world we live in now.
Yep.
Mountain Mike, Mary in Ann Arbor. You are scamps.
Yes.
You are musical scamps.
Who is that? Who is that?
Rocky Mountain Mike and Mary in Ann Arbor.
Yep.
Anita in
That is-
San Antonio. You're on with Cliff.
It's Beauty.
Good morning. Good morning, Cliff.
Hi.
Yeah, y'all were talking about how. Good morning. You know how Donald Trump talks about how Ukraine wouldn't have been invaded if he were president,
right?
And Israel wouldn't have been attacked if he were president.
Sure.
He's also insinuated that the Civil War wouldn't have happened.
Right. Yes.
If he'd have been president.
He would have settled that. Right. And I was saying blacks could have been.
Why didn't they make
Let's
a
make a
deal?
deal. You can be 4/5 of a human. How's that?
He's just such a blowhard. I cannot believe that people fall for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the
He will promise
deal.
you
Blacks love me. I'm going to give them a T-shirt with a picture of me being with my mugshot. They love that. You know, they all love
You
that.
are only
I'm gonna give them my
3/5. Do we have art of the
give them
deal?
my sneakers and then no Civil War.
You were only 3/5 of a human before me, and now you're 4/5. You're welcome.
The art of the deal.
It's the synth.
And the thing is, he's the worst deal maker in the history of the universe.
ever.
Like he's the stupidest. I mean, that's the worst part. And I know the guy was John Miller. Isn't that one of the names Trump used, by the way, when he
Yes.
called the newspapers?
Yes.
But
Yes.
the guy, so he stole that guy's name, the NBC marketing guy, and it's like, yeah, it's wonderful that you're all coming forward to apologize now. I'm sure at some point, maybe all these wonderful tech reporters will come forward and explain to us why they turned this googly, like puffy, stupid, arrogant spaceships blowing up, ugly toaster running on wheels, Cybertruck jerk, Elon Musk into like Tony Stark when he's the biggest imbecile. I mean, it just, once you see who Elon Musk really is and people have seen who Donald Trump really is, do you believe anything mainstream media tells you anymore? I mean, it's like they're so dishonest. And I feel like I can speak to this because, again, I know some of these folks. I went to school with some of them. Their value system is so corrupted. It's all about careerism. It's all about access. It's just they're awful.
And they're just bullies. So Trump attacked Mark Cuban as a loser with no athletic ability. He shared a clip
Fatty
of
McFat there has the ability.
Yeah, he shared a clip of Elon Musk insulting both Cuban and Rachel Maddow. Trump wrote, "Mark Cuban's a loser, wouldn't take his phone calls anymore while at the White House, and he went rogue, a weak and pathetic bully. He's got," Trump calling someone else a bully. He's got nothing going, really low club head speed, a total non-athlete. Who cares about Mark Cuban's club head speed? In the clip Trump shared, Musk stated, "I saw an interview with Mark Cuban, and what's her name again? Oh, yeah, Rachel Maddow, but I couldn't tell which was which. Because ha, 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 that's a joke."
Oh, wow, that's hilarious. I mean, that's the root of all of this is, with Elon Musk anyhow, is that all of his kids pretty much hate him.
Yeah.
And he's had 47 of them with like anything that moves.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
He is the mindset of an incel loser who was rejected constantly when he was a kid. So of course he copulated. Oh, can I say that?
Sure.
Yes.
With anything,
Now we have you all
copulated
nervous. Just the way we like you.
I know. Can I say he copulated with anything that would move eventually. Doesn't take care of any of his kids. Doesn't spend time with any of them.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Family values. Yeah.
Yeah.
But point being, like, he's got that same mindset. It's like the Ben, what's his name? That little tool whose last name isn't coming to me.
Shapiro.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Shapiro. Like, they're just little loser incels who hate the whole world because they were rejected by girls throughout high school. And they've never gotten over it.
I just thought of a surefire.
That's the J.D. Vance vibe too.
I thought of a surefire job, and that would be selling lubricant to Ben Shapiro's wife. Okay, listen. What do I mean by that?
Wow, can you say that on the air?
Well, I guess I just did.
See what I mean? Lubricant's okay. Who knew?
Trump overcharged Secret Service agents protecting him and his family for rooms at his hotel in Washington while he was president, because of course he did. Not only did he not give them the rooms or give them a discount, he overcharged them
Because it was the government.
How are we
Trump-
living in this world?
Yeah, Trump
Does
also
he ever do anything honest?
No.
Sorry.
Trump also benefited from foreign and domestic officials, including people seeking jobs in its administrations or pardons from him, who paid for rooms at the Trump International Hotel in D.C. The new report is limited in scope. It's only based on the 11 months of his presidency, but Democrats say it offers a window into the ways Trump used the Oval Office to fill his private company's coffers and curry favor from foreign governments. No kidding. But
hey, Merrick Garland got Hunter Biden, who clearly was the much bigger criminal.
Yeah. They accused the Trump Corporation of jacking up prices of hotel rooms at the property for Secret Service, in some instances to the tune of 300% more than the government per diem rate and beyond what other guests were being charged for rooms on the same nights. Can you imagine what this grift would be like if he, God forbid, ever gets back in office?
Yeah, well, because again, they've learned Project 2025 is there for a reason. There will be nobody, the thing that people don't get is there will be nobody even resembling professionals in any of these positions. Right. There will not be a professional lawyer who's AG. It'll be some loser who fell off the back of a truck with like a 2-year degree from the University of, the Northern Marianas Islands or something.
It's going to be Judge Boxwine. I can tell you right now, it's going to be Jeanine Pirro.
Oh, definitely. And the same thing for Treasury. Same thing for Milley has called him a fascist. I don't think he'll be putting him back. I mean, the general that will be there, it'll be Flynn, who's an out and out traitor. And I just with Biden's mistake with Merrick Garland. Biden will be a top 10 president. Biden, I could go through the legislation, has been amazing. But some of these things where we haven't fought back, we should have removed Merrick Garland. I don't care what it looked like. General Flynn, how has he not lost his pension? How has he not been court-martialed?
Yeah,
he is not allowed to be doing these things that he is doing. He's fomenting insurrection against the country.
Absolutely.
I don't understand.
Where are you on this? Obviously a lot of, I keep saying pollsters and analysts that know more than I do are saying Republicans are deliberately flooding the zone with these polls to try to, skew the averages and set up the, stolen, rigged election scenario.
Yes.
Because the other, what do you call these? The betting markets? Mm-hmm. So the Wall Street Journal released a report on Friday indicating Trump's sudden surge on the election prediction site Polymarket may be due to manipulation.
Oh, owned by Peter Thiel.
Four accounts that have collectively moved approximately $30 million into bets favoring a Trump victory. So at this point, you don't know what to trust, right? Because we're all panicking at everything we click on, right?
Yes, I do know what to trust, though. And I'm sorry, but I'm just going to, I don't want to sit here and brag. For the head of 2022, I sat there and said there will be no red wave. I said if they take the House, they will barely take it. The only reason they took it is because they held on to a couple unconstitutional gerrymanders. I said we would not lose the Senate. I didn't even have any idea we'd pick up 5 state legislative chambers, which hadn't been done when your sitting president was there since FDR in 1930.
Right.
Again, since Dobbs, there's a 7-point Dobbs effect. They are not polling people in an accurate way, so they're not getting that in there. On top of that, there are plenty of Trump people who are like the gentleman at the Univision, ask questions. He loves January 5th. They're put off by that. They are not voting for him. On top of that, you have great Democratic Senate candidates in key swing states who have their own operations who are turning out voters. On top of that, Trump has turned out he cut all the funding. His turnout operation is that of a midterm election. Harris has the largest, most comprehensive, most experienced one ever.
Yeah.
And he's got Elon Musk getting 25% fake registrations.
Yeah. And
I'm telling you right now, again,
David Hogg said,
we're gonna win.
Said they're gaslighting themselves, with this.
Yes.
But and again, I don't know whether part of it is to pump Trump up so he can keep saying he's winning by a lot, or whether, again, they're just setting up the scenario to be able to say, he couldn't possibly have lost.
I think there's 3 things there. Part of it's because Trump's a little whiny baby, as Dave Bautista, that video is one of the best things I've ever watched, pointed out, a little whining, crying, and I can't say anything else because I'll get you in more trouble.
He's a whiny little bitch. You can say little bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can say bitch and I can't say...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is crazy.
All right.
All right. 2, the second part of it beyond Trump is that they have their theory, Grove used to believe this too, is if you act like a winner, people will go with you. To a certain degree, true, not largely true. People are going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going with them.
Well, and I'm always afraid to say I think we're going to win big, because then I don't want people, because we have 2016 PTSD, and I don't want people to get complacent and go, we got this.
And I want people to turn out, right? But the third part of it is the difference in money So Kamala Harris gave, I think, $25 million to each of to DSCC for each of the big Senate campaigns. They gave nothing. I think she gave $2.5 million to every single state party for turnout. They gave nothing. And she has this professional operation. The difference between what they've got and we have could be worth 3 to 5 points quite seriously. Again, I will predict we are going to win this thing. It is going to be a solid 7 to 9 point win by Kamala Harris. We are going to win all of the swing states that Biden won, add in North Carolina. I think we actually are, at this point, Kamala Harris isn't just doing this to look good. She just opened, Doug Emhoff was in Florida. They opened a field office the last 17 days in Tallahassee. I think we're winning Florida, and I think we're within the possibility in Ohio and Texas.
Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, we love her. She's been on the show. Do it, Florida. Do it.
Yep.
Real quick, Matt in Chicago.
We're going to crush them.
Yes.
Hey, Matt.
I'm sorry?
Hey, Matt in Chicago. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hey, guys. I credit where credit's due. I saw this written somewhere, but I'd just like to point out, does anybody else think that Donald Trump's dancing reminds them of the gopher from Caddyshack?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Dancing to I'm All Right.
We're all like Bill Murray. How do we get rid of this gopher?
Mr. Gopher.
90% of that dialogue was improv.
Yeah, right.
All right, 48 minutes after the hour. This portion.
Hi, I'm Matt Gaetz, former congressman and distinguished statesman. Can you believe the deep state totally canceled me just because I'm a patriot who likes to party? Does that suck ass or what? This is my new podcast, and you haters can laugh all you want because I allegedly brought a somewhat underage chick across state lines. But guess what that means? I get to do my time in a federal pen, not a state pen, because those are like totally ghetto. So I'm doing this podcast because the accusations against me are the greatest miscarriage of justice since a bunch of Black Lives Matter thugs attacked our Capitol on January 6th, disguised as white Trump supporters. So a lot of haters want to talk about how my dad bought me my seat in Congress, or how I got busted with a DUI driving my dad's BMW, or how I wore a gas mask in the House, or how I falsely claimed that Obamacare caused the opioid crisis, or how I voted against the Equality Act, or how I was the only person in Congress to vote against the Sex Trafficking Act, blah, blah, blah. As Mr. Trump said many times, you only hate me because I'm so Christian, you punk ass. But they also say I'm a racist because I brought a Holocaust denier to the State of the Union address. Okay, let's address that. Number one, I did not bring a Holocaust denier. I brought a Holocaust skeptic. And that's like a totally different thing. Stop calling me a bigot. It's totally gay. Okay, let's do some fan mail. Dear Matt, you're awesome, bro. MAGA, how is prison? Signed, Jill. Dear Jill, thanks for writing. You did not enclose a photograph in your letter, which indicates to me that you are at best a 6. But I'll answer your letter anyway. Prison's sucky, okay? When I came here, they wouldn't let me bring my own pomade into the jail. So I have to buy some homemade prison pomade from the Aryan gang, and those guys won't even tell me what's in it. I mean, it works. It's sticky. The worst part is that for some reason President Trump hasn't responded to any of my phone calls or letters or emails. So I've started this new GoFundMe. It's Tell Donald Trump that Matt Gaetz is in jail and it totally sucks and he needs help at GoFundMe.com. Please tell Mr. Trump that I really need his help. I know he has my number. And so does Don Jr. And so does Eric. And so does Laura. And that douche Jared. Mr. Trump, please get me out of here. I know you can help me. Don't you remember all those good times we had? All those awesome photos I showed you on my phone on Air Force One? Gates with a Z. You remember? I'm the guy you kept thinking was your son, Barron? Please. Anyway, I gotta go. Subscribe and give us a good review. And I want to thank Jim Jordan for always standing by me. Thank you, Jim. I knew you would never look the other way. And I also want to thank God and shit. Peace out, bitches.
Dawn tour, he walked around the stage in Detroit for, was it like 10 minutes because his mic didn't work?
Yep.
Yeah.
17 angry minutes.
Yeah, you
from
talk
what I
about
understand.
talk about Detroit and see how well your mic does.
I think he said the D word. He was so angry.
Yeah.
Trust Chris and I. Don't piss off the audio guys.
Exactly.
Never. Yeah,
Or
he
the
said-
lighting guys.
Then he said,
Or your
"I
DP,
won't. I'm not going to
exactly.
pay this stupid company." He never pays any company. It doesn't.
I know. How's that a threat? Yeah, I'm just going to do what I always do.
A conservative commentator faced pushback after insisting Trump had not bashed Detroit. They just have to twist themselves into pretzels on every subject, right? Like it wasn't a completely horrible racist slur, right? He's like, it'll be a mess, whole country will be like Detroit. Like we get your super secret code, you know. But he said, oh, well, I think his message was just that under Republican governance, blah, 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 you're going to do better. Blah, blah, blah. Everyone says he trashed Detroit. Of course he trashed Detroit. They keep trying to, again, Cliff, like we don't have eyes and ears.
That's what they think.
The anchor said, oh, stop. I will be there next week. Detroit's doing very well. Detroit's coming back. Detroit from where it was is doing very well, and people are very proud, as Lizzo said that we played a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes, I can't speak to Detroit per se. I can tell you as somebody who lives in a Cincinnati, a Midwestern city that went through some tough times, these cities invested in their infrastructure. They built, not the infrastructure plan was hugely helpful, but they did it themselves. They started bringing young folks here for major companies, and we're thriving here.
Yep.
So is Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So is Minneapolis. A lot of these places are. Just Trump wants to portray them the way he wants to portray them.
Trump declared,
which is the
Trump declared himself the most stable human being after Fox and Friends confronted him with jabs from Kamala Harris that he's unstable. He said, first of all, the question's a pretty rough question because, you're giving this whole argument to this woman. I don't think she knows where she is. She's a low IQ person. She's not smart. Everyone knows that. I'm the most stable human being. Remember they said a stable genius? No, you said you're a stable genius. I'm the most stable human being. I've been doing this a long time. We had 4 years of greatness, the greatest economy
when he
in
says they,
oh my
he
God.
meant all the voices in his head is what he was talking
the
about.
polling he does in his head. I mean,
exactly.
Cliff, talk about
Man,
fascism.
person, camera.
Talk about,
depends And
talk about fascism. He literally said out loud on Fox and Friends he's going to issue demands to Rupert Murdoch. I'm going to tell him something very simple I can't talk to anybody else about. Don't put on negative commercials for 21 days. Don't put on, these are horrible people who come on and lie. I'm going to say, Rupert, do it this way, and then we'll have a victory, because I think everyone wants to have a victory.
It's illegal to deny political advertising.
Cliff, you made a
because
good
he
point.
Doesn't have any money to put up.
If there had been Fox News and right-wing radio, we wouldn't have had a Goldwater Miller landslide. If we had today's media, I mean, this is exactly.
Oh no! I mean, look. If you know the history, again, this is something that I had to study when I was back in the PhD kind of days. Roger Ailes, his response to what happened with Watergate and some of those elections was it was first called like right-wing news, and they used to distribute it by like VCR, like VHS tape, because that's the time it was into different places. But his idea back then was to corrupt mainstream media by putting out right-wing news. He developed it in the 70s. It just didn't come to fruition until he found the right person in '86, and Rupert Murdoch willing to make that investment. And then, of course, Sinclair did it, and other people did it. But this was always the plan, because they knew honest, objective media telling people the truth, they lose by 20.
Yep, absolutely. You know what? He's an alpha liberal, everybody. He's got it. How can we help you? Follow you?
You have to go to Cliffs_Edge. It's on YouTube. We're over 82,000 subscribers. We're shooting up there. 100,000 by election day. Come join.
We love you, alpha liberal.